The Washington Commanders just received some bad news as we approach Tuesday's NFL trade deadline next week. Coming up here, I'm going to be letting you guys know what that bad news is, and make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's video where we're going to be breaking down a trade idea that would send star wide receiver T. Higgins to the Washington Commanders. So lots to talk about today on the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. And before we get into the content today, whether it's good, bad, or ugly news for the Commanders, we're going to be here giving you guys free, informative content every single day. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button. We're currently the fastest growing Commanders news channel here on YouTube, and that's all because of your guys' support. We're now over 20,000 subscribers. We're definitely growing like crazy, so help us grow even more here by clicking that subscribe button today. So the bad news here, and you guys know I'm a big Jaycee Horn fan. I've been saying I've made multiple videos about why the Commanders should go out and try to make a trade for the young corner out of Carolina. And Jordan Schultz reported earlier this week that the Panthers are likely not going to trade Horn before the NFL trade deadline, which in my opinion, it's pretty bad news, at least for me, somebody that wants Horn to be a Washington Commander. This was the report from Schultz saying, source, despite teams calling about them, the Panthers have no plans of trading cornerback Jaycee Horn or running back Chuba Hubbard. And he is quoted as saying they're not having a fire sale is what his source said. So, maybe Carolina's just playing hardball here. Maybe they do want to trade Jaycee Horn, but they don't want to do it for anything less than a day 2 draft pick, and no one is offering that for him at this point. So I think that maybe for the right price, Carolina might unload Jaycee Horn, but also at the same time, if I'm Carolina, I don't want to trade him either. He is a very, very talented, very kind of unique physical player in terms of his physical gifts. Super long arms, super strong as a corner, and he also pairs that with really good athleticism, short area quickness, man. This guy's got a very high-end skill set, and he's put on some really high-end tape in his time in the National Football League. Now, he's dealt with some injuries. I don't think the Carolina Panthers in their current scheme really fits his skill set. It's a lot of off coverage. I think Horn is much more suited for a press man heavy role, and by the way, that's what he'd be doing here in Washington. That's why I want Dan Quinn to go save him from that nightmare in Carolina. But if I'm the Panthers right now, I don't really want to get rid of him either, so I kind of believe this report from Jordan Schultz that he's probably going to stay put in Carolina. However, there are other options out there for the Washington Commanders. I've been talking about on this show for months how this team needs to add another cornerback, and now as the trade deadline looms, there are still some big names out there that Adam Peters could go out and try to trade for. Guys like Greg Newsome from the Cleveland Browns, very high draft pick, very sought after guy that's played pretty darn well in both zone and man systems in his time playing football. Also, Jonathan Jones from the New England Patriots. They run a lot of man coverage there in New England, especially back in the Bill Belichick days, and I think that Jones could be a good fit here in Washington. Then Marshon Lattimore has been dealing with some hamstring issues, but he's very good, very aggressive corner. He's been in the league for a long time. If you're looking for a guy to be your true number one right out of the box, you'd hope that Marshon Lattimore's healthy if you trade for him. But at the end of the day, he is a true number one corner, and if Washington really wants to try to make a run at a Super Bowl this year, I think Marshon Lattimore could definitely take this defense from okay, because the secondary, let's face it, it's probably a little below average, to a secondary that's pretty darn good, and this defense going to the next level. So the team needs here for the Washington Commanders that I could see them potentially address before the NFL trade deadline this year. Cornerback is certainly number one on my list. I don't want any of these other positions to take away from the cornerback position, all right? That is the first and foremost thing. If the Commanders are going to make a trade, I want to make sure it's going to be for a cornerback. And then if you want to go out and get another edge rusher, an offensive tackle, or a wide receiver to kind of supplement kind of the haul that they get before the trade deadline passes, I think more power to Adam Peters here, especially if he thinks Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn can turn this year's Commanders team into a Super Bowl contender. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Will the Commanders make a trade before the deadline, or are they going to stand pat? Give me a yes if you think that they make a trade, or type no if you don't think they're going to make a trade. Coming up here in just a second, there's going to be a YouTube ad break that comes up right now. While that YouTube ad break comes up here, give me a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. So coming up next here on the Commanders Report, the T. Higgins trade idea that I teased at the beginning of today's video. But before we get into that trade idea for T. Higgins, let's go ahead and have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And folks, we all know that experiencing a sporting event, especially a football game live, is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch. So if you guys want to go see more football games live this year, Game Time Picks is a brand new feature on the free Game Time app, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All you guys got to do is download the free Game Time app. You go to an event you guys want to go see, you select the Game Time Picks button at the top of the screen, and it automatically filters through every single ticket in their database to find you the best tickets at the best prices with the best deals for you and your family. And guys, what I love about using the Game Time app is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event. Also, you get all-in pricing right up front so you don't get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout. I hate when these ticketing apps do that. You don't have to deal with that with Game Time. Then also flash deals, so if you like to procrastinate, kind of wait till the last minute to get your tickets, Game Time actually drives down their already guaranteed low prices even further the longer you wait to Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So let's get into this T. Higgins trade rumor here from CBS Sports' Tyler Sullivan, who connected the Bengals wide receiver to the Washington Commanders here. This is what Sullivan had to say in his most recent article. The Commanders secondary certainly could use a boost via a trade to help make the pass defense a more formidable unit. That said, they could also use a pass catcher to further build around rookie sensation Jayden Daniels. The Bengals didn't pay Higgins this offseason, and he is set to be a free agent. If they are out of the playoff race and don't plan on re-signing Higgins, it makes sense to get a blue-chip asset in return for him while they still can. Now, personally, I don't necessarily think Washington needs to add another wide receiver. I think Noah Brown has done some good things this year. Luke McCaffrey has shown some good things. Same thing with De'Ami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus at times, but there's no doubt about it, man. Adding a guy like T. Higgins could certainly help this unit, but, if they don't land a guy like T. Higgins, I still think this offense is going to be just fine. You take a look at these numbers here, and you can see that this is perfectly fine right here. The only one that maybe concerns you a little bit in terms of the ranking is the 24th red zone offense right now, but they've had a couple games where they've had multiple red zone trips and they don't get the job done. So maybe that concerns you a little bit, but every other stat category here is in the top 5, and that is without T. Higgins, okay? So Jayden Daniels is more than effective enough without Higgins in the lineup. And even if you look at the advanced stats here, EPA per play, they're in the top 3, top 4 in success rate, and then also EPA per pass attempt, they're in the top 10 as well. So it's not like the passing game is really struggling and the run game is dominant. It's like the passing game is doing just fine for the Washington Commanders this year, even without Higgins. But that doesn't mean that, this offense can't go to an even higher level with Higgins in the lineup. I would say, with a guy with Higgins' ability to get open at his size, with his ability to contort his body and make great catches down the field, I would say, with Jayden Daniels' deep ball and with Terry McLaurin on the other side of the field, you can make an argument the Commanders go from a top 5 offense to potentially the best offense in football when you get a guy like T. Higgins. However, I will say I'm not going to overpay for him, okay? Because you are going to have to pay him a brand new contract once you trade for him. And, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to give up a first round or a second round pick to acquire him, especially because you don't really need him right now. So the highest I'm willing to offer for T. Higgins is a third round pick for next season. The Commanders have 2 of those suckers for next year. So, if the Bengals want to take one of them and the Commanders get T. Higgins and they lock him up to a long-term deal, that's something that I'd be willing to do, but that is the most I'd be willing to pay. And honestly, I think there's other teams in the National Football League that are more desperate, might pay a higher price tag for T. Higgins. So if you want my prediction, I do not think Higgins comes to the nation's capital. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. If the Bengals offered this potential package to you, would you take this offer? Type A if you'd accept, or type D if you're going to decline. Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comments section. Thank you for watching today's edition of the Commanders Report. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we've got more Commanders content coming your way, getting you guys ready for this Week 9 matchup versus the New York Giants, trying to get that season sweep. So if you want the informative, in-depth, free content that we have here on the channel all throughout this week, make sure you click that subscribe button right now.